When you look around, when you pay attention to people, you can think that every person wants something different in life. Like every single one have different goals, if you go and ask people directly what you want, one will say a car, other an intimate relationship, a house, money, fame, championship. A son or a daughter. But even on the surface look like that. Even superficially looks like every person has a different goal or looks for something different. Deep inside, every human being look for the same, for happiness. They differ in their choices only because everyone thinks that through that specific object, person, situation, place, etc., will obtain happiness. If you go deep into it, you will realize that every single movement searching for happiness, looking for happiness. The mosquito fly because running after happiness. From a very early age, we realize that to acquire objects create as a reaction an experience of satisfaction. So we learn very quickly the relation between objects and happiness. And by objects, I mean people, situations, we establish a deep relation between acquired objects and the experience of happiness. And we don't talk only about physical objects, but mental objects, emotional objects, etc., etc. We see objects, people, situations as sources of satisfaction, sources of joy. But if we take any object that arises in us so much happiness, like a paint, to the laboratory, if we analyze it, we will find color, chemicals, fabric, but not happiness. We think that our addictions like cigarettes, beer, alcohol, cannabis can give us certain happiness. But if you take all these substances, objects, to a laboratory and you analyze, you will find tobacco, paper, alcohol, chemicals, but you will not find happiness. So where the happiness reside? Of course not in the objects. Happiness cannot be found in any object. Happiness is not a quality that belongs to the objects, because if that was the fact, as long as you keep the object in your possession, you will be happy. But we all know that after a while, the car, the toy, the house, the new couple go and lose his first enthusiasm. You have it, but the happiness went. So where is the happiness if it is not in the object? When you enjoy a melody or a piece of art, a paint, even when you enjoy dancing or a beautiful sunset, the happiness is deep, deep in you, not in the object. So, deep in us, there is an infinite store of happiness. But we miss the point And even we see, even we perceive directly that the happiness that arises with the acquisition of objects is temporal. We don't give up. We continue all our life, simple change the objects, looking for the next one, and the next one, the next car, the next house, the next place, the next couple, the next husband or wife. So everyone look for something else. Even many of us become addicted. Addiction is a disease of our days, a modern disease. Addiction to shopping, addiction to cigarettes, addiction to alcohol, addiction to so many things. Because we feel that we should go more deep and deep and deep in the objects, and the next one will satisfy me. Even thousands and thousands of cigarettes never make you happy. You think the next one will give me happiness. Some of us hear or read that the happiness or real happiness is not in objects, that the life of running after objects is a life of misery, that running after material things like money or fame, sex, it is suffering. And then we move in other direction to religion or spirituality. Then we understand that we found the solution to all our problems. We understand that our life was misery. And now we should look for samadhi, enlightenment, nirvana, satori. Before, in the material life, I look for money, fame, objects, situations, and people in order to be happy. Now, I am religious, I am spiritual, so I look for God. I look for the light. After a while, that I go and meditate and looking for the light, looking for the nothingness. Sometimes some mystical feelings, some spiritual emotions, some light, some elevated thoughts, some mystical experience give me enthusiasm. But always experiences have a beginning and an end. Experiences had a beginning and an end. Everything would begin, end. Everything that born, die. So any experience that in some moment come to you, in some moment will go. And every experience, doesn't matter how much joy give you, will leave you with the same situation that it was before. And then you feel, you experience same experience, you experience same void, same frustration that in the material life. You go on looking for money, you come back with frustration. That money don't give you really, doesn't give you really the real happiness. You go on looking for objects and you come back with frustration. Now you meditate, pray, practice. You go for that moments of light, but you return disappointed. And you go looking after enlightenment, nirvana, mystical experiences, amazing ecstatic feelings, but always you come back with the same frustration, because it's temporal. So you have changed the objects. Before you run after material objects, now you run after spiritual objects. Before you pursue fame, money, objects, now you pursue God and mystical states of light. But the result, the consequences are the same. Moments of happiness, but always you come back with empty hands. In the Torah, there is a beautiful way to refer to this spiritual development, to the spiritual process of evolution or involution, if you want. In Hebrew, the Torah calls it Teshuvah. When a person takes the spiritual path, they refer it in Hebrew as a process of Teshuvah. Teshuvah means lashuv, return, to come back. It is very weird. we always think of any process of advancement to go forward. Not where we are, but to go in some direction, to achieve, to arrive to some place. But the Torah talk about lashuv, teshuvah, return to the letter Hey, that is the divine. Return to the divine. This comes from the Torah, the Sefer Dvarim, Perek Lamed, Deuteronomy in English, chapter 30. כי תשוב אל השם אלוקיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך. In English is something like, return to the divine with all your heart and with all your soul. Sounds like a commandment. Like, ואהבת את השם אלוקיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. Love your God with all your heart, with all. Teshuvah is an amazing term because instead to relate to the process of go and looking for, or to relate to the object that you can find somewhere, talk about the process of coming back, the return. And in Hebrew, Baal Teshuvah, or that who take this process to himself, the name is Baal Teshuvah. That means a master of the return. Yes, you need to be a master. Not how to go and looking for, know how to go and found it, but how to come back to the source, to the origin, home. And the Torah say, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם באחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. You will not go after your heart and your eyes, that you prostitute yourself after them. What that means? After objects, after people, after situations, looking for happiness, for the reward of happiness. We are ready to sail the most intimate, the intimacy of our beings. אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, that you prostitute yourself after them. Instead of that, teshuvah, לשוב, להי, to come back, to return to the divine. We talk about the return of consciousness to itself. Then the Torah continue in the same Perek Lamed of Dvarim, Deuteronomy, that this mitzvah of return doesn't talk about a far place that is beyond the sky. that this mitzvah of return doesn't talk about a place that is far away under the oceans. Instead of that, say, כי קרוב אליך הדבר מאוד בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו. That the thing is so near, very near, מאוד, very near. Why the word very? Because it's much, much more near than what you can imagine. בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו. In your mouth and your heart to do it. To do it, לעשותו. Why to do it? Because this quantum jump is not in order to talk about it or to think about it or to make theology or philosophy about it. It is to do it. Teshuvah is that kind of things that you cannot do it, but they happens only after you do your best. Teshuvah is this kind of phenomenon that happens only after you did everything that you can do. It is like relaxation. Relaxation happens, but happens after you tense. You can tense your hands. And when you tense the maximum, you don't need to do nothing. Relaxation happens. You can tense the attention as an elastic to objects, places. But when you want the attention go back to its source, you don't need to look for the source. Doesn't mean the elastic should be more tense. Means only you should relax. And when you relax, the elastic know his source.